There comes a moment in every woman's life when she gets tired of being polite, tired of explaining herself, tired of being the nice girl everyone can walk over. And that moment changes everything. She doesn't raise her voice, she just raises her standards. And guess what? When she stops being nice, the world stops underestimating her. Being the nice girl was cute when you were 16. You smiled even when you were uncomfortable. You said yes when your soul screamed no. You bent till your spine cracked just to keep the peace. But let me tell you what happens. When a woman finally says, enough, she doesn't become rude, she becomes real. She doesn't seek validation, she becomes the standard. She stops chasing people, she starts choosing herself. The day you stop being the nice girl is the day you stop shrinking to fit someone else's version of who you should be. You stop apologizing for existing. The moment you realize your presence is not a burden, it's a blessing. But for too long you've been conditioned to shrink. You've been taught to whisper when you should roar. You've said sorry for things that didn't even require forgiveness. Sorry I took up space. Sorry I spoke my mind. Sorry I dared to have emotions. Let me ask you, why are you sorry for being human? There's a girl out there who says sorry every time someone bumps into her. She'll apologize for being too sensitive when someone disrespects her. She'll say sorry for the drama when she cries, as if her tears are some kind of weakness, not evidence of a heart that still feels. You know why she does that? Because she was taught that being agreeable makes her lovable, that being quiet makes her safe. But listen to me, you were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be unforgettable. Imagine this. You're in a meeting. You offer an idea. It's smart, it's sharp, but it challenges someone else's ego. They frown, they interrupt, and instead of standing your ground, you smile and say, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to offend. No, stop right there. Don't apologize for being intelligent. Don't apologize because your brilliance makes insecure people uncomfortable. At the dinner table, how many times have you swallowed your truth so others could digest theirs more easily? You've laughed off sexist jokes, racial jabs, belittling comments just to keep things smooth. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't owe comfort to those who disturb your peace. You are not too loud. You are not too quiet. You are not too emotional. You are not too much of anything. You are exactly enough. And you never need to dim your light to make others feel okay in their shadows. One day, a woman walks into a room and doesn't say, sorry, I'm late. She says, thank you for waiting. She doesn't say, sorry, I'm not wearing makeup. She says, this is my face, take it or leave it. She doesn't say, sorry if I seem distant lately. She says, I've been pouring back into myself and it feels good. You think that woman is cold? No, she's awake. When your energy shifts, when you stop apologizing for choosing yourself, people will say, you've changed. They're right. You did. You stopped playing small. You stopped making yourself digestible. You stopped asking the world for permission to be who you are. Even in relationships, how many times have you said, sorry, I just need some space? No. Space is not selfish. It's sacred. You're not apologizing for having boundaries anymore. You're not apologizing for needing rest. You're not apologizing for saying no. When a woman realizes her existence doesn't require constant justification, she becomes magnetic. She doesn't chase. She doesn't explain. She simply is. And the world starts paying attention. Not because she begged for it, but because she reclaimed every part of herself she once gave away in exchange for approval. You protect your peace like it's gold when you finally understand that not everything deserves your reaction. Not every fight deserves your energy. Not every person deserves a front row seat to your life. When you truly value your peace, you become selective with your time, your space, and your soul. There was a time you gave away pieces of yourself just to keep others comfortable. You answered every call, even when your spirit was tired. You said yes to every invitation, even when your body screamed for rest. You let people walk in and out of your life like your heart was a hallway. But not anymore. Now you silence the noise. Now you block out the chaos. Now you protect your peace like it's the rarest diamond, because it is. Imagine this. You wake up one morning and decide to leave your phone on silent. Not because you're angry, not because you're avoiding anyone, but because your soul needs a minute to breathe. And suddenly someone texts you, "Why are you ignoring me?" You smile, not out of spite, but out of power. Because you're no longer available for people who think your accessibility is a right instead of a privilege. Protecting your peace means saying no without guilt. It means canceling plans because your mental health is more important than someone else's opinion. It means not explaining yourself every time you choose solitude over social scene, because silence is no longer empty, it's healing. There's a woman out there who's afraid to take a break. She keeps showing up for others while secretly falling apart. She pours into everyone else's glass while her own is bone dry. And she thinks she's doing the right thing until her body breaks down, until her heart gives out, until her spirit forgets what peace even feels like. You were not born to be burned out. You were born to blaze. And a fire needs oxygen, not obligation. At work, protecting your peace looks like walking away from gossip. It looks like not reacting when someone tries to provoke you. It looks like knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need a promotion or praise to prove it. When someone disrespects you, you don't scream, you exit. When chaos erupts, you don't jump in, you observe. That's the power of peace. It's unshakable. In friendships, it means recognizing that history doesn't equal loyalty. Just because someone's been around for years doesn't mean they get to disturb your harmony. A true friend will understand your need for rest. A true friend won't guilt you for taking care of yourself. You've spent too much time explaining why you're tired. Too much time justifying why you need quiet. Now, you simply protect your peace and let the world adjust. You don't answer texts at midnight. You don't argue with people who just want attention. You don't allow negativity into your home, your mind, or your heart. You've built a sanctuary inside yourself, and not everyone gets a key. Protecting your peace means understanding that your energy is sacred. It's not a public resource. It's a private temple. You let in what heals you, what grows you, what lights you up, and everything else, you let it pass. No explanation, no apology. There's power in saying, not today. Power in turning down invitations that drain you. Power in choosing stillness when the world expects performance. Peace is not passive. It's not soft. It's a declaration that your spirit is no longer up for negotiation. You don't chase love, you attract it when you finally understand that you are the prize. Not the desperation, not the pleading, not the waiting up at 2 a.m. hoping someone texts you back. When you step into your true worth, You stop auditioning for people who can't even see your value. Once upon a time, you bent over backwards just to keep someone in your life. You changed your voice, your schedule, your dreams. You kept shrinking, hoping they'd stay. But you were never meant to shrink for love. You were meant to expand in it. Love is not a game of hide and seek. If it's real, you won't have to chase it. It will meet you where you are. You see, a woman who chases love is a woman who believes she's incomplete without it. Her life is not a vacancy sign waiting to be filled. It's a glowing light that says only aligned energy is welcome here. Let's talk about dating for a moment. Picture this. You meet someone. You like them, but their energy is inconsistent. One day they're hot, the next they're cold. You find yourself checking your phone every 5 minutes, decoding their messages like they're a puzzle. No! You stop doing that. You stop wondering if you're good enough for them and start asking if they're even aligned with you. That's the shift. That's the glow up. Because here's the truth. The love you chase usually runs, but the love you embody, that's magnetic. You're not chasing good morning texts anymore. You're waking up with peace. You're not stalking someone's Instagram, trying to figure out if they've moved on. You've already moved inward. You've stopped begging to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. In friendships too, this shows up. You used to overextend. You'd drive across town just to be there for people who couldn't even send a "how are you" text. You'd pour from an empty cup just to feel needed. But now, you don't chase that validation. You attract real ones who love your light, not because it benefits them, but because they honor it. Even in family dynamics, you once played the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who smoothed everything over just to keep the love flowing. But now you realize, authentic love doesn't demand you destroy yourself for its comfort. You don't chase love by overperforming in silence. You attract love by standing in your truth, even when it shakes the room. You sit at a dinner table and speak your mind without filtering it for approval. You set boundaries. And instead of over-explaining them, you stand firm. That's how you attract love. Not the performance, not the mask, but through honesty and alignment. You know what's truly attractive? A woman who walks into a room and doesn't look around to see who's looking at her because she's too busy living. She's too focused on her goals, her peace, her joy. And that energy, that's the kind that pulls real love in without a single chase. People will ask, why are you single? And you'll smile. Not because you're empty, but because you're selective. Because you've learned that love isn't about possession. It's about partnership. Not about being completed, it's about being mirrored. When you elevate your energy, love rises to meet you. You're no longer chasing, it's aligning. And what aligns doesn't need to be forced. What aligns flows. What aligns feels like peace, not confusion. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. You are not someone's maybe. You are a frequency. You are a standard. And now, you attract what matches that. You speak without fear, not with permission. The moment you realize your voice is not a favor to the world, it's a force. It's not something you owe to silence, shame, or societal comfort. For too long, you've been conditioned to be quiet, agreeable, and polite. You've been told that being loud makes you difficult, opinionated makes you intimidating, assertive makes you too much. But now, You're done asking for permission to exist out loud. Think about all the times you bit your tongue to keep the peace. You swallowed truth like poison just so no one would feel uncomfortable. In meetings, you had the answer, but waited for someone else to speak first. In relationships, you had boundaries, but feared you'd lose them if you voiced them. In family gatherings, you disagreed, but nodded along anyway because don't stir the pot. But here's the reality. You weren't born to blend in with silence. You were born to shift rooms with your voice. It doesn't matter if your voice shakes. It doesn't matter if your truth is unpopular. What matters is that you speak it anyway. There's a woman right now sitting in a workplace where she knows the strategy better than her boss, but she hesitates to speak up. Not because she lacks wisdom, but because she was taught to wait her turn, to be respectful, to be grateful. But speaking up is not disrespect, it's self-respect. Your ideas are not less valuable because they come from a woman's mouth. They're just less accepted by a world that fears powerful women. You start raising your hand in rooms you used to shrink in. You correct people who mispronounce your name without apologizing. You walk into male-dominated spaces with your head held high. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you are something. And then there's the everyday dialogue. Someone says something offensive and instead of laughing it off, you say, "That's not funny." Someone crosses a line and instead of brushing it under the rug, you say, "That's not okay with me." You're not confrontational. You're conscious. You don't raise your voice to dominate the room. You raise your voice to stop being silenced by it. Even in love, this shows up. You used to fear that expressing how you felt would make you too emotional, too needy, too dramatic. But now, you don't downplay your needs. You say, "I need emotional presence, not just physical proximity." You say, "If my voice makes you uncomfortable, then maybe you were only in love with my silence." And let's not ignore the cultural layers. Maybe you were raised in a home where women only spoke when spoken to, where you were told to keep things in the family, where being vocal was considered rebellion. But now you see that silence isn't respect, it's repression. You speak because healing isn't quiet. You speak because truth doesn't whisper, it roars. You post that truth online even if it gets less likes. You post that truth online even if it gets less likes. You write that book even if they say no one will read it. You start that business even if no one claps at first. Because you're done shrinking your light to fit into someone else's shade. When you speak without fear, you liberate others to do the same. You become the woman who interrupts cycles of silence in her bloodline. You become the woman who raises daughters who don't apologize for taking up space. You become the woman who no longer waits to be chosen because she chooses herself every time. This is not about being loud for the sake of noise. This is about being real for the sake of your soul. This is about walking into every room like your voice deserves to echo there. You redefine power in femininity the moment you realize that softness is not weakness and being gentle doesn't make you small. It makes you unshakable. The world taught you that power looks like control, like dominance, like noise. That to be strong you had to harden. That to be taken seriously you had to trade your intuition for logic, your grace for aggression, your nurture for numbness. But now you rewrite that narrative because your femininity is not your flaw, it's your superpower. There's a quiet storm inside every woman who chooses to lead with grace instead of force. A woman who walks into a boardroom in heels, not to impress, but because she feels like it. A woman who can command attention, not by raising her voice, but by owning her energy. Think about the daily spaces you show up in. At work, you used to shrink your tone to sound less emotional. You dressed down to be taken seriously. You muted your softness so they wouldn't call you weak. But now you know, the most dangerous woman in the room is not the loudest. She's the one who knows when to speak and when to pause. The one who can bring strategy and compassion into the same sentence. The one who doesn't pretend to be a man to earn respect. Because her own presence commands it. You hold eye contact now, not as a challenge, but as a statement. You don't apologize for wearing lipstick and intelligence at the same time. You don't choose between beauty and brilliance. You embody both, effortlessly. In relationships, this shift is even more powerful. You no longer think submission means silence. You no longer believe that to be feminine is to be dependent. You redefine what it means to receive, not as passivity, but as intentionality. You're not chasing, you're attracting. Not waiting, you're choosing. You allow space for love, but you don't beg for it. You've learned that the feminine woman is not a doormat. She's the doorway to healing. She creates safety with her energy, not fear. She speaks life into people without losing her own in the process. She leads with intuition and trusts her gut more than the noise around her. Even in motherhood, in sisterhood, in friendship, you show that nurturing isn't lesser, it's legacy. 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 You show that nurturing, it's legacy. You show that you don't need to act detached to show you're strong. You can cry and still be a leader. You can care deeply and still have boundaries. You can walk away with tears in your eyes and your head held high. Femininity is not the opposite of power. It's the evolution of it. It's being calm in the chaos. It's commanding a room without demanding it. It's flowing like water, but cutting like truth. Every time you choose to honor your emotional intelligence, your body wisdom, your intuitive knowing, you reclaim what generations of women were told to bury. You become the woman who walks away from chaos, not because she can't handle it, but because she chooses not to carry what breaks her spirit. The world told you to compete like men, but you collaborate like a queen. You elevate others, not just yourself. You don't wear a crown to be admired. You wear it to remind yourself who you are. You're not less than because you feel deeply. You're more than because you do. You're not powerful despite your femininity. You're powerful because of it. You see, when you stop being the nice girl, you don't become bitter, you become boundaried. You don't become cruel, you become clear. You don't walk around with a heart made of stone. You walk around with a heart that finally stopped bleeding for people who never learned how to hold it. That's not a loss. That's the beginning of your becoming. You become the woman who no longer dances for crumbs of love, because now you bake the whole damn loaf. Because now you bake the whole damn loaf. You bake the whole damn loaf. You bake the biggest clean of all colors you can manage. And when you get there, you do done because you become. You bake the biggest clean of all colors you can manage. You bake the biggest clean of all colors you can manage. You bake the biggest clean of all colors you can manage. You no longer wait for someone to pick you because you picked yourself first. You no longer shrink in conversations just to make others feel comfortable because you finally understood. Your truth doesn't need validation to be valuable. And that's power. That's real power. The kind that doesn't come from a title or a relationship or likes on a post. It comes from knowing who the hell you are, even when no one's clapping, even when they leave, even when they doubt. It's the kind of power that walks into the storm and says, I am the thunder. Let them call you intimidating. That's just the sound insecure people make when they realize they can't control you. Let them call you difficult. That's just code for she has standards. Let them say you've changed. Because yes, you have. You were not born to stay silent, small, and sweet for the comfort of a world that feeds off your obedience. The woman you are becoming does not exist to be understood by the version of you that kept apologizing, kept shrinking, kept saying yes when she meant no. The woman you are becoming is here to break patterns, set fire to old rules, and rise without regret. Every time you speak your truth, you shatter a generational curse of silence. Every time you walk away from toxicity, you rewrite the definition of love. Every time you protect your peace, you show the next woman that peace is not a luxury, it's a birthright. You're not selfish, you're self-aware. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not heartless. You just stopped handing your heart to people who kept breaking it with their bare hands. So now when they ask, what happened to the nice girl? Tell them, she woke up. Tell them, she found her fire. Tell them, she buried the girl who tolerated and birthed the woman who chooses. Because in a world that tries to dim you, the greatest rebellion is to shine unapologetically. In a world that feeds off your doubt, the boldest move is to believe in yourself, louder than the noise. In a world that celebrates women for how much they endure, dare to be the woman who heals, thrives, and walks away. You were not made to survive love that starves you. You were not made to beg for attention in rooms you were born to lead. You were not made to live half a life just to keep others whole. So step into your power. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because the world doesn't need another woman playing small to be loved. It needs you, raw, real, bold, and unafraid. Like the fire that doesn't ask for permission to burn. Like the storm that doesn't wait for silence to arrive. Like the queen who doesn't need a throne to rule. She just walks into the room and they know. Darling, you are not too much. You were simply never meant to be less. So let them adjust. Or let them leave. Because from now on, you are not lowering your frequency for anyone. You've upgraded your soul, realigned your worth, and reclaimed your throne. And the next time someone tries to put you in a box, tell them this: I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to break the mold. Because you're no longer the girl who needed saving. You're the woman who saved herself.